Hello everyone, we're live. It's me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio for another Tuesday, and that means Tuesday Tips Live. Today, we're talking about standalone or all-in-one DJ gear, represented here by the Denon DJ Prime 4. Other systems are available, compared to controllers and laptops, which is how most people DJ, but not by a long amount nowadays. There's quite a good split going on here between the two kinds of ways of DJing. Which is best? Which one's right for you? If you're already using a controller and laptop, should you switch to all-in-one standalone? If you're using all-in-one standalone, what are you missing by not using a laptop? That's what we're talking about today. It's a live show. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, which means you can take part. Please do so. Ask, give your comments, give your opinions, and we will go at the end of today's show to what we call the comment cam, where I will take those opinions and questions and general comments on this subject and read some of them out live. So that's what we're talking about today. So let's kind of like frame this by beginning to talk about what the difference is between these two types of systems. The main difference between these two types of systems is that the controller and laptop version uses your existing computer, usually a computer. Sometimes you can use an iPad or something, but mainly it's a computer. Uses your existing computer and it plugs in a pretty sophisticated box like this one I've got here, the Pioneer DDJ 1000 SRT for Serato. And this controls the computer. And really, it's just like a posh keyboard and mouse, but instead of having a mouse or a trackpad and some keys, it's got knobs and sliders and jog wheels and buttons and all this cool stuff that controls the software in your computer, where all the clever stuff goes on. And apart from this having an audio interface in, so you've got your headphones and your speaker outputs, that's basically what a controller does. Meanwhile, moving over to this kind of system, which looks pretty similar to this type of system really, but this type of system here is a standalone system. I've got a smaller one here I can hold up. This is actually a very popular one at the moment. This is a Numark Mixstream Pro. Standalone or all-in-one, and the reason this is called all-in-one or standalone is that there's no laptop separate needed. It's standalone, it's all-in-one, everything's here. The screen, when you turn it on, will give you all the controls and all the power that you need to use such a DJ system on its own without the laptop. And so you don't have the separate software going on at all. It's just all self-contained in one unit. So that is the main difference between these two types of system, that one uses a laptop and one doesn't. Although, as we're going to find out, you're not quite fully escaped from the laptop when you're using this kind of system. So actually, the standalone systems don't have to be all-in-one. All pro DJ gear is standalone. So you go into a pro DJ booth, there's Pioneer, CDJs and Mixer, it's all standalone, but they're not all in one, they're not all in one unit. And so they work in the same way, but it becomes a little bit more grown up there, if you like. So when we're down at the kind of level that enthusiasts and hobby DJs and amateur DJs tend to buy equipment, it tends to come in one box, whether you go for one way or another. So what we're talking about today is which one of these types of systems is the best for you. And is there kind of a middle ground where you get the best of both worlds? So we'll talk about that as well. So firstly, let's talk about the pros of standalone DJ systems, represented here by the Denon DJ Prime 4. So this kind of system makes sense if you want to DJ in a club as well. You want to play clubs on their gear, because it's more like how you're going to play in a club. I've already mentioned it. You take your USB drive, which you've prepared with your music, you plug it into the system and you play away, especially if you're using Pioneer DJ gear, which is the same complete system that you would use in a club, the same software to prepare and everything. But even if you're using the Denon DJ or the Numark stuff, it's just more similar to the way you would DJ were you DJing in a club. So if you are primarily someone who thinks, I want to be DJing in clubs, I just want to get on with it the way that club DJs do it, then it might be that standalone systems are the best for you. They're also easier if you're coming from a vinyl or a CD background. So vinyl and CD DJing is done without a laptop, right? You've got your records, you shove your records onto a turntable, and my records are up there, and you start playing, or you put your CDs into the drive and you start playing. And even, you know, if you stopped DJing a few years ago and you started again now, even if you reached the point where you were using a USB pen drive and plugging it in, it's very, very similar. So the way of DJing with a standalone or an all-in-one system without your laptop is much more similar to the way you are used to. So if you're worried about returning to DJing, you're kind of worried that it's all changed and that you don't want to use a laptop and learn software and operating systems and all that, you'll probably find using a standalone or an all-in-one system that doesn't need a laptop to be easier, because it's more like DJing the way that you're used to doing it. So another pro of standalone DJing is that there is less screen staring, because there isn't a big fat laptop in front of you for you to stare at, right? So when you're using software, your gear's here, but the laptop has got an awful lot of information on it that you need, like your library and your waveforms and your cue points and your beat grids and your all that kind of stuff is all there. So a lot of the time DJs will be staring at their laptop quite a lot, and it's quite unfairly sometimes called Serato face, because of course other DJ software is available, but you know exactly what I mean, right? And you can get pulled into that if you've got like 30,000 tunes and you're looking for something to play next. You're kind of scrolling like this and staring at your screen and getting more and more manic. So that is another thing that you certainly avoid when you're using a system like the standalone system we have here, which is, I know it's half off camera, but I couldn't fit them all in. So maybe I can zoom out a little bit more. Should we zoom out a bit more so we can see them both better? There we go, that's better, isn't it? Here's the Denon DJ Prime 4 with the screen that you will be looking at. But the screen, although it comes up and looks quite cool, it is nowhere near as intrusive as having a big laptop, which is what we've got here. So less screen staring. Another pro of standalone DJing using equipment like this is there's less to go wrong. This stuff is very, very reliable. It's all been really stress tested. And the variables are slim compared to when you're using a laptop, when of course the variables are, a lot of them are down to you. How good's the cable connecting the two? Have you remembered to charge it? Have you remembered your charger? Is it plugged into a correct wall socket? Is it the software up to date? Are there any gremlins in your system that might cause it all to kind of like glitch? And all other things that come with using computers can go wrong, and often will go wrong when you're in the middle of a performance. I say often, but you know, once is too often, right? So with laptops, you do have that worry that something is going to go a bit wrong, which you don't have with standalone systems. They tend to be, although nothing's 100% reliable, tend to be a lot more reliable than laptops. So we're talking here about the difference between standalone DJing, all-in-one DJing with a unit that doesn't need a laptop, represented here by the Denon DJ Prime 4, but other systems are available, and DJing with a controller, represented here by the Pioneer DJ DDJ 1000 SRT for Serato, but other brands of hardware and other brands of DJ software, in fact, are also available as well. So now we've covered some of the benefits of using standalone or all-in-one. Let's talk about some of the benefits of using a controller plugged into your laptop running DJ software. So to start with, you get better access to your music library with a controller and laptop DJ software. It is much, much easier to search for and manipulate, look for, make quick playlists from, and just generally interact with your music on a big fat laptop screen with a keyboard than it ever is, even on the very best systems that have got a screen built in. Because the keyboard will be a touch screen, it's lower down, not so close to your face. So, you know, trying to look for a tune like this compared to very quickly doing it on a laptop quite quickly gets tedious. So for accessing your library, you're certainly going to be better off with using a laptop and a controller rather than using even the very best standalone systems. So if you're playing weddings, for instance, when you may be asked for all kinds of music, it might be that you prefer that. So the software systems, this is a laptop, but it of course runs on DJ software, which runs on your laptop. Software systems are much easier to upgrade because the software gets upgraded, and generally you can find a way to control that on your hardware. So when new stuff comes along, like for instance stems, real life separating of tracks into acapellas and drums and instrumentals and stuff, has arrived in DJ software, it ain't on any standalone systems at all and is not likely to be at any point soon. That's just one example of something new. Software tends to be more powerful than even the most powerful standalone systems. Now, they're getting better. The engine DJ software that powers the Denon DJ systems, for instance, is very, very good. And it's got an awful lot in it now that you tended to only find in software systems like streaming services. But there's no video control here. There's no samplers on these. There are still big things that are missing from even the best standalones that you get pretty easily in software. And as I say, updating that stuff is just a case of hitting download on the latest update of the software. Now, we've already touched on this one a little bit, but because a controller uses your existing laptop, which tends to have a lovely big screen that's elevated and right in your face. You do have all those things I talked about, not only searching your library, but everything else, really nice waveforms, good interaction with the effects, good interaction with other things that software brings you that are harder to interact with on a small screen. So it's not just about your library, it's about everything else to do with the software. And if you're using other types of musical input, so maybe you're using Ableton as well, and you're mixing up a kind of hybrid set of two things running at once on your laptop, and they're both going out at the same time into your mixer, you know, switching easily between the two is much easier on a laptop. And also, actually, if you want to live stream your DJ sets, you can have the software running on your laptop at the same time as your DJ software. So your laptop lets you do a lot more, and the screen lets you interact a lot more easily with all the things you want to do. Again, the screen down on a standalone system won't give you that. So another advantage of using a controller and a laptop as opposed to using a standalone or an all-in-one system is that it's easier on this kind of system, which uses a laptop, to download music you haven't got. So many mobile DJs will very quickly download a song that they simply have to play but they don't have in the background when they're playing. That's easy to do with a laptop. It's not usually as easy to do with this kind of system because you haven't got a computer with you. Now, whether you agree with that or not, believe me, an awful lot of that does go on. Not so worrisome if you're a club DJ, but if you're a wedding DJ and you've forgotten an important song for the bride, being able to go and quickly grab that from your music store and throw it onto a deck can be an absolute lifesaver when you're DJing with a laptop. And another thing is that they tend to be cheaper, the controller systems, as long as you already own a laptop, because you're not buying, in effect, you're not buying a second computer, which is what you get built into an all-in-one system. You're buying a computer here to power this, it's just built into the hardware. Here, you're just buying something to plug into the computer you've already got. So the initial outlay is going to be less, usually on a laptop system, but that is offset quite a lot depending upon which software you choose to go for, because nowadays the software companies are extracting more and more money from us DJs, and you might end up paying a subscription because you can't get the software you want without paying a subscription. There isn't a buy function, or it might be very expensive to buy. So it's definitely worth factoring that in when you're thinking about which way to go here. Okay, so we've looked at the pros and cons of both systems here, but is it that binary? Is it that clear cut down the middle? I'm going to go all-in-one and standalone and I'm not going to have all these things, or I'm going to go software and I'm not going to have all these things. Well, no, it isn't actually, because there are ways of buying this kind of thing and getting some of the functions of the other one. So let's talk about those now. So firstly, you can buy a standalone DJ system, an all-in-one DJ system that also works with your computer and with software, which can be a great way to go. So for instance, if you bought the one I've got here, the Denon DJ Prime 4, it also works with Serato. So you could plug your laptop into it and use it with Serato and have all the advantages of the system, but use it with software as well. Also, the little Numark Mixstream Pro, which I've shown you earlier, this works with Virtual DJ really, really nicely. You can just plug it in and it will work. And there's some Pioneer systems as well, I'm pretty sure from memory, that will work with, in fact, I know that all Pioneer standalones will work with Rekordbox, for instance, so there's another way. And I'm just trying to remember, I'm pretty sure they work with Virtual DJ as well. So just because you bought a standalone all-in-one system doesn't mean that you can't use it with software, so you could get the best of both worlds. Now, you can still access and play music you don't own on standalone systems. At least you can on the ones powered by Engine DJ, which is Denon DJ systems, and also the Numark Mixstream Pro that I've just shown you, because you can log into the streaming services which are available on software, Tidal, SoundCloud, Go+, Beatport and BeatSource streaming, and get songs you don't know. So if you are in a pickle and you need to get a track quickly, it is still possible on some of these. It's not possible on the Pioneer ones yet, but it is possible on these ones. And you know, so it's not quite as easy as saying, oh, well, you know, if I buy this, I can't have that. If I buy this, I can't have that. Also, you can get systems like this, which is a standalone unit, sorry, which is a controller, that have got screens built in. So if you don't like the idea of staring at your laptop, you can get controllers with screens, and then that means that you don't have to worry too much about looking like you're staring at your laptop all the time. Most of the information is going to be available on that screen, and you can sometimes tuck your laptop away, sometimes really tuck it away and do everything on the screen. So, which is best for you? That's what we've got to talk about here. So I've got a couple of recommendations. Here at Digital DJ Tips, we've taught 32,000 students in the last 12 years. We've got a pretty good idea of the kind of DJs that go for this kind of system and the kind of DJs that go for this kind of system. Very broadly, DJs who know the kind of sets that they're likely to play, who've done it in the past with vinyl or CDs, and who know they want to play in clubs at some point, generally standalone is the way to go, generally. For DJs who like the possibilities of software, who already own a laptop, who are happier to learn how it's done the software way, don't mind putting that work in, laptop DJing is still the obvious choice. It's got particular appeal if you see yourself playing longer sets where even you don't know what direction the music's going to take. So you'd appreciate the easier searching and access to more music that you'd otherwise have to pre-prepare on a USB drive to play on a standalone system. And by the way, you don't escape the laptop with standalone systems. You've still got to export your music from a laptop and prepare it on software in order for these systems to work best. So don't think that you're going to escape the laptop entirely by going for standalone. So there is our kind of like very quick comparison between the two types of DJ system. Now, and for the rest of our live show, so if you're watching the recording, you're about to see us go live with our students. For the rest of our live show, I'm going to head over to what we call the comment cam. And over there, we're going to talk about what you've got to say about this topic. So hello everyone, how are we today? I hope we're all good. As I said, let's go straight back to the beginning and say hello to a few people and get on with what we're here for, which is talking all about this together. So this is from our first comment today, is from Papa D. Good day, Phil. Hot and hazy in Miami. Just checking in. Well, good to have you here, Papa D. Nice to see you. I need a new laptop, says Techno Boom. I mean, this is you're saying it kind of jokingly, but it's true. You do need a laptop that's good enough to do this stuff when you are doing this stuff. So do bear in mind that if your laptop's a little bit ropey, then you might be better off with a standalone system. So yeah, good point there. I sold my DDJ 1000, says PJ Macker, to upgrade to an all-in-one system when they are back in stock. So there you go, you've made your choice there. Anjith wants to know if Newmark's coming out with an updated version of the Mixstream Pro. I doubt it at any point soon because it's not a very old unit at all. This is from Dustin. I'm just coming back into DJing after being away for a long time. Are people seriously using only mixers with a laptop? Why? Why would anyone do that? That's so weird. Well, they really, really are. Well, not so much mixers, all-in-one, 2 decks and a mixer in one box. Yes, they are, and it's very, very popular. So there you go, Dustin. And as DJ Ginormous points out, it's a budget-friendly way of DJing. And it's certainly the way we recommend most DJs to start with. A cheap controller, and I don't mean the kind of expensive ones we were looking at here, but just cheaper ones, will be a great way to start. For a couple of hundred, you can see if you still want to do this, and if you do, you can then upgrade and keep the cheaper controller as a backup. Christian prefers laptop and controller because of flexibility and having more music on your laptop, so thank you for that. It's one of the things that we talked about, isn't it? So we're talking about using samples, and the fact you don't get samples on standalone DJ gear. Noof says, buy yourself an SP404 Mark II. It's like an iPad on steroids. I've actually got one here. An iPod on steroids. I've actually got one here. It's in for review, so we're going to be reviewing this very soon. You can sit this by your DJ gear, and you've got all the samples that you could possibly want, and a whole lot more on little hardware sampler units like this. So thank you for sharing that, Noof. Laptops are so ubiquitous these days. Everyone has one, says you don't like my music. Well, they do, yeah, and so why not use it for your DJing? All-in-ones of the future, says Phil. Laptops have more power for now, but it won't be long before it's just standalone, especially with streaming as an option. So yeah, your point there is that standalones are getting more and more powerful, and that is definitely true. DJ Ginormous says, I know a lot of people who swear by their computer, but I also know a lot more who swear at their computers. We were talking about computers not being powerful enough. My laptop can no longer run OBS and DJ Pro without choking up. So there's a good reason for a standalone right there. Thank you. You don't like my music for sharing that. Boxy Woxy says, I'm really thinking about buying buying a standalone system, but it's very difficult not to lose mobility. Size of the systems for now. The Numark Mixstream has caught my eye. Well, actually, it's not only the Numark Mixstream, because these standalone systems like this one here, the Denon DJ Prime Go, is tiny. I've carried this all over the place in rucksacks up mountains and stuff. So you don't have to buy the big ones. And as you've pointed out, the Mixstream Pro is a lot smaller than this kind of system here, which is a big, this Denon DJ Prime 4 is the biggest one Denon DJ does, apart from its separates, and it's designed for DJing in it, not being particularly portable. So do bear in mind that, yes, these aren't that portable, but then these aren't really. Of course, there are smaller controllers as well than the controller I've got here. Here's a kind of medium-sized controller. This is the Numark Mixtrack Platinum FX. It's not a particularly big controller, this one. So, you can get both of these kind of systems in all kinds of sizes, is the point I'm making here. So don't let that particularly put you off, although you won't find, all-in-one units that are quite as small as this, certainly not mainstream ones. There have been little ones out there over the years that have been tiny, but these kind of controllers are quite popular, these really small DJ controllers like this one here, which is the Numark DJ to Go 2 Touch. Hercules Starlight is another one like this, actually a bit better than this one, which we would recommend to you too. All right, so let's go back to your live comments and queries here. So what have we got next? We have got, we don't want that one. That's certainly something we don't want to see on the screen. Just pull the comments back on there. Oh, how weird. We seem to have our show starts logo up there. We just get rid of that. I would get rid of it if I could, but I don't know how to. How weird. It's all good fun, isn't it, using these systems when you haven't got a clue what you're doing. But it must be that one. There we go. There we go. You get there in the end, don't you? At least you know we're live, people. There's no fooling you on that one. We are perfectly, totally 100% live here, as we like to be. Right, let's get back to Mel. You just missed me messing up, so no worries there. Right, let's grab some more of these comments then for the next 10 minutes or so before we end today. The Rocker says all-in-ones do need some updating. I had to use Recordbox DJ for the mix because I needed key lock, key sync and the sampler for the mix on the XZ. These features plus the largest screen. We need an XZ or an XZ Mark II. Yes, key lock and key sync is available, but not on Pioneer DJ all-in-one standalones to this moment, although it is available on their Pro Gear. So let's grab one or two comments of a different bent to the ones that we've covered already. Lots of you kind of like saying the same things that we've already covered, so that's cool. If you stare at your laptop long enough, eventually your laptop starts staring back at you. A paraphrased comment there, I like that one. A standalone that you can add a screen and keyboard to would be nice. Some of them you can plug a keyboard into. They always have been able to, even some of the very old CD ones, I think, or the old first USB ones you could plug a keyboard into for searching. But yeah, that would be good stuff. So there are people talking about a lot of hacks that go on. Can you use the DJ app on a standalone controller? So this is Algorithms DJ for Mac and iOS. No, you can't, but you can put it onto your phone. Like this is a tiny little phone I've got here. You can put the DJ app on your phone and you can plug it into full-size DJ gear nowadays, and then you can use that DJ gear almost like your phone's a USB drive, because of course phones are tiny. So there are people who are starting to use that. So it's almost like an embedded system that way. So it is worth having a look at that if you're interested. They've recently updated Algorithms DJ Pro AI to be able to do that with DVS, which is something new. I didn't think it was possible to use laptop and Prime 4 together when performing. Well, you've learned something. Yes, it works with Serato. When I expect to have a more diverse set, says DJ Black Eagle, and expect high BPM changes, acapellas on the fly, etc., I use software. When I'm at the club, I use my standalone. However, standalone over laptop every day. So your preference is laptop, but when you need that power, so your preference is standalone, but when you need the power, you go for laptop, which is kind of what we were saying. Benny's got the right idea. I'm still getting used to coming back to DJing, but I'm just having fun, and that's what it's all about, of course. If I want to get into standalone gear, would older gear still cut it? I'd say get newer gear, or just get a laptop with a controller until you can afford more modern standalone gear, because things have moved on quite a lot. Craig is bored out of his mind trying to complete workbooks for his new job. I'd rather be DJing, that's for sure. Nexu says, I prefer DJing with a laptop. That way I can do crazy things with MIDI mappings on controllers that aren't officially supported. We've already said, you know, if you're excited about software and you're not daunted by the things that you can do with it, and you can get quite geeky with software, then it could be that using software is better for you. Forgive my ignorance, but can you use online streaming with standalones? Doesn't make any difference. You can online stream with anything you want. If you were meaning bringing music into the standalones, yes, you can, but only on Engine DJ. So, whereas software, Serato, Rekordbox, even Traktor, with some of the things I'm about to mention, Virtual DJ and so on, they'll all let you plug in Beatport, BeatSource, and other systems. So you can stream music into them. Not all standalones will, only the ones that run Engine DJ software will. I'm one of those who swears by my Apple devices for DJing, says Mark. If I use an M1 Max MacBook Pro and an M1 iPad Pro with cellular as a backup. So that's cool. And that's, you know, a lot of DJs are very happy DJing with their Apple Macs, as we know by seeing that little Apple symbol in the DJ booth with a lot of big names. So you're certainly not alone there. I wish the Den and DJ stuff would sync information like cues and loops between my two Prime units, says Human Cells, and I'm sure there will be a way of doing that, but it involves you having to then take the information back from the unit you've just DJ'd on back into your master laptop and then put it back again to the other one. So yes, there's no kind of sync way of doing that at the moment. Right, so I think we're probably going to stop there. Thank you very much for taking part. I'm going to end with a geeky comment, which I love, of course, from Roswell, who says, I'm planning on building my own standalone using a Raspberry Pi and Mix software. Also a custom mod tracker turntable with Amiga and PT1210 software built in. Well, a lot of luck with that. Please do let us take a look at that when you finish it. We think that would be a great thing to cover on the site. Right, people, we've been talking today about the difference between DJing on a standalone system, an all-in-one system represented by the Denon DJ Prime 4 here, and a controller represented here by the DDJ1000 SRT for Serato. It really depends upon what you feel most comfortable with. And this was all triggered by a comment in our Digital DJ Tips Facebook group, which is called Global DJ Network. You should check it out if you're not already in it, where someone said, I'm a warrior and I want to move from laptop to standalone. Can you help? Give me some pros and cons. It was all triggered by a conversation in there. So if you're a warrior, you don't want a laptop in the DJ booth, standalone might be the way to go. If you love all the stuff software can do that standalone will never fully catch up with, software could be the way to go. Either way, you've got so much power compared to the days when we used turntables and mixers, which wasn't that long ago. We've never had it so good, people. So that's been Tuesday Tips today. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and you'd like to take part, I didn't want to do that. There we go, we're back again here. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and you want to take part more with Digital DJ Tips, go to that URL, digitaldjtips.com/join, and you will get a copy of our book, Rock the Dance Floor. You will also get our weekly newsletter, which is every Tuesday. It's called Tuesday Tips, and it will help you become a better DJ, which is what we're all about, the world's biggest DJ school after all. I'm going to go now. I will see you next week for another Tuesday Tips, and I'll see you on Thursday, same time, 3 p.m. London, 10 a.m. Eastern, for our Any Questions Thursday Q&A live. Meanwhile, for me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio, get good, get out there, make the moments, and until next time, bye-bye.